welcome to our joint NAACP meeting with the college chapter. Pleased to be here on this evening. We're going to call this meeting to order at 7:09 p.m. We're running a little behind. I want the pastors to review the invocation. Can I have pastors? We have the pastors.
Can we all bow?
It's too much feedback.
Thank you, first of all, for the privilege we have to be in the assembly. Thanking you for our health and strength. And Lord, thank you for the purpose. We're asking now that you would bless this occasion in the mighty name of Jesus, Lord, as only you know now. We pray that you would just have your way, and not just this setting, but in all of our lives individually. And then, Lord, teach us how to work collectively together. And most of all, remind us how we love one another according to your will. We ask it all in Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Hayes of Community Baptist Church of Pacific Road. We will do the Pledge of Allegiance followed by the Black National Anthem. So can we all turn to the flag? I pledge allegiance
to one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the Black National Anthem is on the very inside of your cover.
Turn it up, one or the other.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listing skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won.
Thank you. Okay, so does everyone have minutes? And I'd like to have someone approve a motion to accept the minutes. They should be listed in your program agenda for members. Can I have a motion for someone? Okay, so I have a second, a first and a second by Ian. All right. All in favor? All opposed? All right. Okay, and the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity from the branch, the Monterey County branch, to review the minutes? And I'd like to have a motion to accept the minutes. So, Josh, and seconded by Joe. All right, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okey-dokey. So we will now go to the fifth item on the agenda, which is welcome and greetings, and I'm going to turn the mic over to
Can you hear me without the mic?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Turn it off.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Man, I'm nervous. Hey, let's start with call and response, all right? I think you'll figure it out. Black lives. Matter. Black lives. Matter. Black lives. Matter. All lives matter when? Black lives matter. All lives matter when? Black lives matter. All lives matter when? Black lives matter. Good job. Got one more. Repeat after me, please. No membership. No membership. No power. No power. Little membership. Little membership. Little power. Little power. Big membership. Big membership. Big power. Big power. So welcome to the 7th annual Black History Month meeting, a joint meeting of the Monterey County branch and the NAACP CSUMB College chapter. First, I'd like to welcome anyone who is in the room who is not a member of either the college chapter or the Monterey branch. Would you stand or raise your hand, please, if you're not a member? Everybody look around. There's a lot of people. So those of you who are members, you know who to recruit, right? Okay. I would also like all the members of the executive committee to please stand and be welcome to the Monterey County branch. If you're a member of the Monterey County branch, please stand and be welcome. If you are now or have ever been a part of the NAACP College chapter, please stand and be welcome. If you've ever been part of the college chapter. Do we have anyone from Black Students United that is here today? Yes? Anyone who is from the Divine Nine, either on the campus or in the community? Then finally, I'd like to ask if there are any elected officials in the room. Yeah, there we go. So tonight, I'm addressing you as my role as the staff advisor for the NAACP at CSUMB. It has been one of the greatest honors of my life to be the advisor of this club for the last 6 years. I also have some personal news I'd like to share. Since last year's Black History Month meeting program, I graduated from the Masters of Social Work program here at CSUMB and have been hired as the first full-time, fully benefited Postmaster's intern counselor at CSUMB. I want to say that this did not happen by accident. The PGCC has always been intentional about maintaining staff diversity in order to serve underserved populations, as evidenced by Mel Mason and Lynn Weiss-Dixon's long-term involvement with the PGCC since its earliest beginnings. However, serving as a counselor at the PGCC also means that I will no longer be able to serve as the advisor for the college chapter. And as it so happens, we have also had a sharp drop in participation this semester, despite 6 years of great success, and last year boasting the largest active membership ever under the leadership of one of our honorees, Marquise Crear. Our remaining officer and presidential candidate, Zarian Williamson, will give you an update and about how we're going to regroup. Because this is my last year in this role, I felt some urgency about making sure that some new and long-time local civil rights champions were honored this year. So for the moment, I'm just going to say congratulations to Mrs. Ruthie Watts, to Mr. Akin Miller, Dr. Gerald Shenk, Marquise Crear, and Brehna Watkins. your 60-page program booklet. This is not a throwaway item. In addition to a powerful call to arms by Monterey County Branch President Regina Mason, it contains biographies of new African heritage staff and faculty at CSUMB, as well as the biographies of our keynote speaker, Dr. Eduardo Ochoa, who just entered the room, and all of tonight's honorees. It has the names of the Monterey County Branch committee chairs and which committees are looking for memberships. Hint, hint. It has the name name and location and contact information of local historically black churches. And being that this is Black History Month, it contains a short history of Monterey County Branch and the CSUMB chapter NAACP, and lots of pictures of our students in action. So please don't leave it or throw it away. I also want to make a quick plug for Super Saturday, the African American Community Student Recruitment event. There's a flyer that you should all have been handed out with your packets. So we really want you to come back for this event. It's this Saturday from 8:30 a.m. noon in the University Center. It will feature a free continental breakfast, a CSUMB and Black Community History presentation by Mr. Mel Mason, who's in the room with us tonight, a campus tour, a student panel, a church fair, a look at support programs for African Americans at CSUMB, and a community roundtable discussion. I'm also so very pleased that CSUMB President Dr. Eduardo Ochoa, can we give a hand to the President is making his first appearance at our joint meeting. Since he arrived at CSUMB in 2012, Dr. Ochoa has been very supportive of town and gown connections. I was personally very impressed when Dr. Ochoa made the occasion of his 2013 investiture as president of CSUMB a special day of service and learning dedicated to building connections and building community. The day was celebrated with special off-campus community volunteer projects for CSUMB students, staff, and faculty alike. Dr. Ochoa and his wife Holly also made an appearance at the 2015 Welcome Back Black Barbecue at Laguna Grande Park in Seaside that was organized by Black students, and by Black Students United and the NAACP at CSUMB. The following year, his office made a sizable financial contribution to the larger and broader, you ought to know, Seaside event at Alumni City that Councilman Dave Pacheco put so much work into. And this Saturday, Dr. Ochoa and his cabinet will be on hand for the Super Saturday event. Even as we rightfully celebrate these community connections, community events, and community service, we must remember that the NAACP is not a community organization. It is a militant civil rights organization on a mission to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic quality of rights of all persons and to eliminate race-based discrimination. Members of the NAACP know that it's going to take more than saying good job to people in power if we are going to ensure equality. It's going to take speaking truth to people in power even when they're doing a good job. Until the day that African Americans and other minorities have the same aggregate health outcomes, wealth, education, access to power, and justice as white Americans, the NAACP will always be there to say, do better. And so Dr. Ochoa is a man in a position of enormous power who has done much good since he has arrived. So when we say to you, Mr. President, good job, do better, you will know that this is not personal. It's not a personal attack. It's not a gotcha moment. The NAACP is likely to say to every president from here to eternity, good job, do better. One of the ways that CSUMB, under Dr. Ochoa's leader, is doing better is in hiring new African heritage staff and lecturers. At last year's meeting, I presented to you recent new African heritage hires, and we will continue that tradition tonight. However, One of the most promising of those new hires, Ms. Jessica Newman. Raise your hand if you knew Jessica. Beautiful woman. So Jessica Newman, she's no longer with us. She was the coordinator of the Otter Cross Cultural Center, and she has returned to her home in Chicago. Quoting from her exit letter, she acknowledged that what attracted me to this institution was the brilliance of the students and the idea of innovation. The CSUMB African American Heritage Faculty Staff Alliance, as well as students from all backgrounds, were devastated by this loss. Unfortunately, the loss of qualified and excellent African American staff is nothing new on this campus. I can think of many other black staff members who left feeling more diminished than enhanced by their experience at CSUMB. To quote again from her exit letter sent to senior administrators, at its worst, CSUMB can be, quote, an unsafe, unloving, and toxic environment for the minds, bodies, and souls of black students, staff, and professionals. Now certainly, myself included, not all black students, staff, and professionals feel this way. But as the recent CSUMB Climate Survey indicates, too many do. We can and must do better. Thanks largely in part to the initial groundwork by Paula Carter and continuing leadership by Dr. Vivian Walter-Patterson and others, we now have a vibrant African American Heritage Faculty and Staff Alliance that is engaging with top administrators, students, staff, and faculty to make this a more warm and welcoming campus for African American heritage folks, and that's part of what we're doing here tonight. And so I say to the Alliance, good job, do better. And I hope that the Alliance will turn right back to me as the advisor for the NAACP on the campus and say, good job, Stephen, do better.
Good job, Stephen, do better.
Thank you. So this is what striving for excellence demands. It demands encouragement and appreciation on the one hand, and a sort of divine discontent and impatience on the other. This is a difficult balance to maintain. I'm also mindful that luck favors the prepared. If the last year and a half has taught us anything, it is that political fortunes can change in a heartbeat. I wonder what happens when, or if this or any future CSUMB senior administration begins to take what is meant to be constructive criticism as an attack or sign of insubordination or disrespect. With the possible exception of tenured faculty, there is, of course, great personal risk in speaking truth to power too boldly. Being on the front lines of social justice and institutional engagement is exhausting and difficult work, filled with anxiety, insecurity, and the risk of burnout. Even staff who are elevated to management and senior administrative positions must carefully consider the risks and benefits of taking bold stances because they are at-will employees who can be legally dismissed without cause or warning. So, the central question becomes, when pushing becomes necessary, how do we push an institution that we love to make hard changes without sacrificing those who are doing the pushing? Now, to me, the answer is obvious. I strongly encourage members of the African American Heritage and Faculty Staff Alliance and other individuals and groups who are very thoughtful about how to best engage with administrators over contested issues to join the Monterey County branch NAACP. And for black, white, and other minority student activists to join the NAACP at CSUMB. We need you. We need you. The ranks of our local civil rights organizations on and off campus are not being replenished at the rate that they should be to remain an effective and powerful force for good. My greatest hope is that by being the eyes and ears of the broader local African American community, the African Heritage Staff Faculty Alliance, and the NAACP at CSUMB will not need the Monterey County Branch NAACP. But if we ever do, remember this: no membership, no power. Little membership,
Little power.
big membership,
Big power.
thank you. Next up, we have words from our treasurer, Zarian Williamson.
Y'all hear me?
Yes.
How's everybody doing? So once again, the NAACP at CSUMB is honored to host the Monterey County branch for the 7th annual Black History Month meeting at CSUMB. In light of recent events and changes in the political climate, it gives me great pleasure and hope to see community members and students coming together, united in pursuit of common goals. On behalf of NAACP at CSUMB, I would like to thank new African American staff and faculty for choosing CSUMB. Our chapter is pleased to honor Mrs. Ruthie Watts and Mr. Akin Miller as recipients of the African American Civil Rights Champion Award. We would also like to thank the Monterey County Branch for recognizing two of our former presidents, Brehna Watkins and Marquise Crear, as well as retired CSUMB professor, Dr. Gerald Shenk. Finally, we are eager to hear the remarks of President Ochoa and are grateful for the 6 years of service our advisor, Stephen Goings, has dedicated to the club. As Stephen alluded to, our club suddenly does not have enough members to sustain itself. So tonight, we are announcing that any student that signs up and joins NAACP tonight will have their membership paid for a year. Thanks to the generous donations of the members of the African American Heritage and Faculty Alliance and AS. We are announcing that we are scheduling 4 strategic development meetings to set the course for NAACP at CSUMB for the next 7 years. We invite students, staff, faculty, and community members who are interested in participating to sign up today. The strategic planning meetings will be held March 8th, March 14th, March 29th, and April 19th at 7 p.m. That said, we want to let you know how incredibly successful and impactful NAACP at CSUMB has been as a club for the past 6 years. First of all, 7 years ago today, associate students and the Social Justice Coalition hosted the Monterey County branch of NAACP February 2012 that held the meeting at CSUMB. It was a very important meeting and it started the charting process for CSUMB being the newest NAACP chapter, college chapter. Dr. Gerald Shenk, who is being honored here tonight, was a major financial contributor to the memberships of the original 25 charting members whose names are printed on the back of your programs. In spring 2017, we took the case of Denise Jackson, a student who was kicked out of housing and had charges filed against her based on a mutual altercation between her and her white roommate, who was not kicked out of housing and whose charges were not filed against. Due to the advocacy of our club president, Shayla Gooding, and co-advisor, Deb Busman, it was eventually determined that the original CSUMB police report was biased and charges were dropped. After charges were dropped, our chapter had some influence in gaining Ms. Jackson a small financial award and urging CSUMB to appoint an official Title IX discrimination, harassment, and retaliation officer. In 2015, when a multicultural group of CSUMB students and others, the so-called Monterey 8, were arrested and fined for their Black and Brown Lives Matter protests. Our club financially contributed to their fines. We were also successfully advocating at our 5th annual Black History Month meeting to have local hero and former national president and CEO of NAACP, Ben Jealous, chosen as the 2016 commencement speaker. Each year, we have paid for 1 or 2 club members to serve as delegates at the NAACP National Convention, and with the help of the Office of the President, we annually send 10 students to the Monterey County Branch's lifetime membership banquet. Last year, under the leadership of tonight's honoree, Marquise Crear, we hosted 12 successful events and raised $500 for the Flint water crisis. Last semester, in my role as Health Committee Chair, we obtained a $3,000 grant from the National NAACP Health Division to produce the CSUMB Get High Health Forum and Self-Care Health Fair, with over 25 campus and community partners. HYPE stands for Healthy People Everywhere. This is an amazing club on this campus, and I encourage folks to keep it going. Thank you.
On behalf of Leon Russell, Chairman of our National Board of Directors, Derek Johnson, National President and CEO, Alice Huffman, California-Hawaii State Conference President, and the Monterey County Branch Executive Committee and its membership, I bring you greetings on this evening. It is a pleasure to be here at this beautiful campus once again to collaborate with the college chapter during Black History Month. Black History Month is an important month for African Americans throughout this country. We would like to thank President Ochoa for being our speaker on this evening and thank the college chapter leadership team and Stephen Goings for helping to bring this meeting together. I would also like to thank our Press and Publicity Chair, John Wizard, for coordinating with the President's office to make it possible for him to be our speaker this evening. The NAACP turned 109 years old on February 12th of this year, and the 86th birthday of our local Monterey County branch was February 12th as well. We who are leading and working in this great organization are proud to be serving and standing on the shoulders of the icons and civil rights movement in this country to make it possible for all of us to continue the fight and struggle for freedom and equality for all people. It is befitting that I bring you a word about the importance of education. Education is something that we know will allow us to move forward economically. When our ancestors were brought to this country, they would be killed if they were caught learning to read or write. But our ancestors knew the importance of an education, even under the harsh conditions of slavery. The slaves would go deep into the plantations late at night and dig into the belly of the earth, take kerosene lanterns down into the earth in order to learn to read. And that reading came from the Bible, is what they first started learning to read. They did this at a great cost. Education was always denied to the descendants of Africans who were enslaved. What is interesting is that we are still being denied a good education in our communities throughout this country. I recently read a study that the average black family would need 228 years to build the wealth of a white family today. The article stated that if current economic trends continue, the average black household would need 228 years to accumulate as much wealth as their white counterparts hold today. The average Latino family, it would take 84 years. Absent significant policy interventions and seismic change in the American economy, people of color will never close the gap. Those are the key findings of this study of racial wealth gap released by the Institute for Policy and Studies and the Corporation for Economic Development. They looked at the trends of household wealth from 1983 to 2013, a 30-year period that captured the rise of Reaganomics, expanded international trade, and two major financial crashes fueled by bubbles in the tech sector and housing prices. The authors found that the average wealth of white households increased by 84% during those 3 decades, 3 times the gains African American families saw, and 1.2 times the rate of growth for Latino families. To put this in perspective, the wealthiest Americans, members of the Forbes 400 list, saw their worth increase by 736% during that period on average. It took 400 years of slavery, segregation, and institutionalized discrimination in the labor and housing markets to build the wealth gap that we see today. I bring you this information of because economics is involved. When I think about the fact that this institution sits on land that my father and many of my peers' fathers died and fought in wars so that the citizens of America could have and enjoy the freedoms we enjoy. I think about this institution and the economy of Monterey County. Our local economy thrives on ag and tourism dollars. The NAACP would like to see the name Seaside, California, advertised on the name of CSUMB. The NAACP looks forward to a dialogue with President Ochoa to work in partnership to bring economic reciprocity to the children and families of African ancestry for the aforementioned reasons. We are aware that the college chapter is in need of an advisor. We are calling on a faculty or staff person to step up and become an advisor to the college chapter so that this can be sustained. If there is not such a person, we will be in dialogue with President Ochoa to see if there is a way for a member of the community that can serve as an advisor. In conclusion, I would like to talk about retention of African American students, faculty, and staff, as well as service learning. However, I must yield my time to the next speaker, but know that we will be in communication with President Ochoa related to this topic. I want to introduce you to our membership chair, Edward Armstrong. If you are not a member of the NAACP, please join. Is Edward Armstrong still in the building?
Yes.
Yes. Edward Armstrong is there, and he has memberships. I also want to point out that a child of the Seaside community, Lydia Robinson, has a new book, The Monarch. And I want you to be aware that she is here, and you can speak to her after the meeting about her book. And I'd like to call on you to support her. The book is about Seaside and growing up in Seaside. And thank you very much for all being here. Thank you. I'd like to welcome our wonderful President Ochoa.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to address you today. I'm really appreciative of that. As a university, CSUMB is committed to promoting social justice. In that spirit, I would like to begin by recognizing the accomplishments of tonight's award recipients: Brehna Watkins, Marquise Crear, Gerald Shenk, Ruthie Watts, and Akin Miller, who show their own commitment every day. So congratulations to all of them. During the 2019-2020 academic year, our university will be celebrating a milestone, its 25th anniversary. You might find it hard to believe that CSUMB has been around for nearly a quarter century. We're proud of what we've been able to accomplish, while believing and understanding that much is left to be done. Our campus, like most campuses, has a tagline that we use in our announcements and marketing materials. Ours is extraordinary opportunity. You won't be surprised to hear that I like that phrase. The dictionary defines opportunity as a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. At CSUMB, we work to make it possible for our students, most of whom are the first in their family to attend college, to do something important, to achieve a higher education. We're in the opportunity business. We don't provide an education, students have to work for that. We provide the opportunity for people to earn an education and to achieve their dreams. People like Tiller Williamson, who grew up in a military family and came to CSUMB to earn a degree in human communication. Today he serves as Executive Assistant to the Chief Information Officer and Director of Information Technology and Communication Services at the Naval Postgraduate School. And he is running for a seat on the Monterey City Council. Then there's Jovan Hutchins, who majored in Japanese language and culture at CSUMB and is now living in Hokkaido, Japan. He's part of the English Teachers Program, which brings together college graduates from many international backgrounds. They teach English as a foreign language to both the younger and older generations of Japan. He writes, and I quote, "If you would have asked me as a kid if I ever imagined that I would be the only African American person living in a small area of Japan for the next few years, I would have probably called you crazy." But he also says, "I honestly love what I do and I couldn't see myself anywhere else." Emily King graduated from CSUMB in 2017. As a scholar in our Undergraduate Research Opportunities Center, she was able to pursue research experiences at Duke, Oregon State, and San Francisco State. She received the 2017 Provost Award for Exemplary Academic Achievement and is currently pursuing her PhD in Integrated Biology at UC Berkeley, one of the best programs of its kind in the country. I should add that she is focusing on environmental physiology of organisms and is fully funded by a Chancellor's Fellowship. We're proud of the way that these African American students took advantage of the opportunities that CSUMB provided and pursued their individual dreams. We want more and more students to follow in their footsteps. Currently, African American students make up about 5% of the enrollment at CSUMB. That's a bit more than the percentage of Black residents who live in our three-county service area of Monterey, Santa Cruz, and San Benito counties, and a bit less than the percentage of African Americans who make up the population of California as a whole. Still, we believe we can do more to get the word out about the opportunities available at CSUMB. Toward that end, this Saturday, as you heard, we will be hosting our first Super Saturday event. In this event, we have been sponsoring until now an event called Super Sunday, in which leaders of each CSU campus make presentations about higher education at Black churches in their area. I have participated in that event and have always been gratified by the gracious reception that I have received. For this year, in an effort to broaden the reach of our message, CSUMB will be hosting a roundtable at our University Center that will include church leaders, but also a broader spectrum of representatives from the African American community. That's the Super Saturday. Our message is threefold. Number one, college is an engine of opportunity to power your future prosperity, as we heard. The CSU is here to partner with you every step of the way to make sure that you're prepared and can afford college. And thirdly, you can succeed at the CSU. No matter if you're enrolling for the first time, you're the first in your family to attend college, or if you're returning after time away. As Cal State Monterey Bay has become a more popular choice for students from across California, we have been forced to declare impaction. That means that we have to raise admissions requirements for students coming from outside our area to control our enrollment. I want to stress, however, that we remain open to any student from within our service area who meets the basic CSU admissions requirements. We're fortunate that we are located in an area where it's rural, and so the population of this area is small enough that we can accept all CSU eligible students from these three counties. Right now, about 39% of our students come from the three county service area. We would love to see that percentage rise in the years ahead. Toward that end, we are working with partners in education, in business, in government, and the nonprofit sector to create more opportunities for our area's young people through the Bright Futures initiative. I'm hoping you've heard of it. The goals of Bright Futures are both straightforward and far-reaching. We want to ensure that every child in Monterey County is prepared for school, succeeds in and outside of school, completes a post-high school credential, and enters a promising career. Addressing these issues is not the job of any single institution. It is a shared responsibility. Great work is being done by schools, by nonprofits, by social service agencies to shore up parts of the cradle-to-career pipeline. Bright Futures does not supersede those efforts, but helps coordinate strategies among agencies to produce better overall results, to maximize our collective impact. Our overriding goal, and it is a challenging one, is to increase the percentage of our students who earn some type of post-high school credential from the current 20% to 60% by 2026. To measure our progress, we are tracking improvements in specific measures all along the cradle-to-career pathway. We're looking at measurements like how many children have access to adequate health daycare, how many meet language and literacy goals at specific grade levels, how many middle school students feel connected at school, how many high school students are taking courses they will need to attend college and are filling out the financial aid forms to qualify for assistance. And we are seeing progress. More children are being enrolled in transitional kindergarten classes, improving their readiness for K-12 success. Several low-income minority districts have shown impressive gains in literacy rates and graduation rates. And our higher education institutions, CSUMB, Hartnell, and MPC, are issuing more degrees and are closing the achievement gaps between minority and non-minority students. Now clearly this is a long-term effort. We're building this partnership with hopes that it will continue after today's leaders have moved on. It is essential work, and we will stick to it. At CSUMB, we consider this a part of our effort to be what is part of our mission, which is to be a steward of place. In recent years, the American Association of State Colleges and Universities has become a strong advocate of that concept. The AACSU says, quote, "The publicly engaged institution is fully committed to direct two-way interaction with communities and other external constituencies through the development, exchange, and application of knowledge, information, and expertise for mutual benefit." And here's another statement on this concept from a little closer to home. The university will be a collaborative intellectual community distinguished by partnerships with existing institutions, both public and private, cooperative agreements, which enable students, faculty, and staff to cross institutional boundaries for innovative instruction, broadly defined scholarly and creative activity, and coordinated community service. That is from our university's founding vision statement. For me, CSUMB's long-standing commitment to community engagement was an aspect of the campus culture which made this such an attractive opportunity to be its president. I'm honored to be its president. Having been here for 6 years, I am even more excited about the possibilities. Being a steward of place requires taking a comprehensive view of a university's role in the community. We can act as a convener, bringing together people of various viewpoints and backgrounds to enjoy cultural events, and to discuss issues facing our region. We can be a catalyst, working cooperatively through efforts such as Bright Futures to prepare more of our children to pursue a college degree. We can be an economic engine, helping move forward the smart growth that our county will need to prosper in a changing world. Another aspect of this role is bringing distinguished speakers and thinkers to our campus and our community. In recent weeks, we have hosted Congressman James Clyburn of South Carolina, the Assistant Democratic Leader in the House, and Sean Kane, the influential African-American writer who appeared at the annual Black Gala. They follow the likes of Angela Davis, Cornel West, and our 2016 commencement speaker, Ben Jealous, a charismatic leader with deep local roots and the former national leader of the NAACP. Still, no matter how well we fulfill our role as a steward of place, we recognize that our core mission remains educating the next generation and preparing them for productive lives. I wish we had total control over our ability to fulfill that part of our mission. We want to provide more educational opportunities. Our master plan foresees us growing to more than 12,000 students by the year 2030. The demand is certainly there. We received more than a dozen applications from prospective freshmen for every available spot next fall. But student tuition only pays about half the cost of a college education. The rest comes largely from state funding. So we need more money from the state to allow us to admit more students. Unfortunately, the signs are not looking so good. Governor Jerry Brown's budget proposal, despite a healthy state economy, includes only modest increases for the CSU, well short of what we need to be able to continue to grow. Because those with a college degree earn substantially more over their careers, an investment in higher education more than pays for itself in economic growth and an increased state and local tax revenue. Literally, the legislature would actually earn multiple dollars for every dollar they spend on funding the CSU. We're certainly going to be making that argument in Sacramento in the months and years to come. The Public Policy Institute of California has a new report that says California's higher education institutions will need to produce 1.1 million more college graduates by the year 2030 to meet economic demand and secure a more prosperous future for our state. The CSU in general, and the CSUMB in particular, is eager to do its part. We have embarked upon Graduation Initiative 2025, which aims to increase graduation rates for all CSU students while they're eliminating opportunity and achievement gaps. Through this initiative, the CSU wants to ensure that all students have the opportunity to graduate in a timely manner and move on to lead California and the nation. As I said before, we're in the opportunity business, and we want to provide more opportunities for students like Celesta Williams. From the time she was born until she was 18 years old, Celesta was in the foster care system with her older brother, living in 3 different homes in Seaside. Her mother passed when she was 3, and although she had contact with her father, she'd never seen him in person. The CSUMB faculty member, Kevin Cahill, met her at one of our Imagine College workshops at Seaside High. Statistics show only a small percentage of African American former foster youth graduate from college. Still, Celeste set her heights on a degree, and she did it, graduating from CSUMB in 2016 with a bachelor's degree in communication design with a concentration in visual design. Celeste didn't find a great job right away, working for a while in a restaurant and in retail. And then she got laid off. She says, "I was scared, distraught, angry, and hurt. I thought, how did this happen to me? Well, I took the night, I got laid off to cry about it. I went to church the next day, and that Monday proceeded to fill out as many job applications as I could. That Friday, she got a call from an agency that works with Silicon Valley firms. Apple was looking for someone to do data analysis. She updated her resume, went to an interview, and was hired by Apple. Celeste's advice is, no matter what kind of cards you're dealt in life, you have the power to either let those cards fly away in the wind or make them stand tall and strong in your favor." I'm good with metaphors. My life has not been easy, and some days I'm even shocked at how I made it through. I am thankful for this life, and if I can do it, anyone can. Extraordinary opportunity? We think so. Extraordinary students? No question. thanks again for having me, and thanks for all you do to make even the most unlikely educational dreams come true for our children.
President Ochoa. We are going to entertain a few questions, so is there anyone that has questions for President Ochoa?
One problem that I see with the school that I've heard from academic advisors and like students as well is that when it comes to like getting all of your classes done, trying to get out of here on time in the 4 years, what has been talked about is how even if you take all of the correct courses, like even if you keep up with in your CMS, your academic requirements, that even if you take everything required, that you'll still have some missing units. Like around 16 units missing, so you'll have to take like fluff classes just to make those up. So I'm wondering like, how can we get that? I feel like that will really affect, if we fix that problem, that will help us get students out of here faster. Just because taking those fluff classes is what's keeping us here longer when we're taking all the required classes.
Okay, I guess I would question your premise that classes can be fluff. Depends on which classes you pick. But I do take your larger point, which is we need to be sure to create schedules, class schedules for students that allow them to get the classes they need to be able to graduate on a timely basis. We have also, as part of the graduation initiative, the CSU system as a whole has required campuses to ensure that all of these degree programs can be completed in no more than 120 units. That still leaves in certain majors, and fortunately so, room for some elective classes. Elective classes are a great opportunity to range farther and wider than your major and the requirements to really learn about some areas that you might not have otherwise been exposed. This is the one time in your life where you can devote concentrated attention and time to exploring the world that we live in, our history, and all of the other things that you're going to probably receive in the background once you get into a career and become more focused. So it's I certainly look back on my time in college as a great time to really be able to also, in addition to prepare for the workforce and for career, to be able to think about broader questions and about things like the meaning and purpose of life and what my direction is. And so take advantage of those openings in your curriculum to explore those ideas.
Is there anyone else?
Is it true that you and the city of Seaside have negotiated a tuition forgiveness type of program where the city, where people, youngsters from the city can be forgiven for tuition for a period of time? If this is true, when will it start? Secondly, what is the limit of time that a person has to reside within the city to be
I believe you may be referring to a program that was proposed to us, and we were very enthusiastically supportive of it, by the city manager of Seaside.
Yes.
He proposed taking some of the revenues that would be generated by the development project that's going to be going up next to our campus to provide scholarships for Seaside residents. And we certainly encourage that. So as soon as that development kicks in and starts to generate the revenue for the city, that program will be going.
I'm Fred Jealous. I've witnessed the enormous benefit to the community and to the students that I've met of this service learning program. And so reading in the Herald and hearing the gossip throughout the community that this program could be lost seems like a gigantic loss, I mean almost an inexcusable loss. So I'm curious what you're advocating for and promoting in terms of the future of service learning.
Well, I'm very glad you asked that question, because I'm sure that's on people's minds. I think that there is fear and trepidation among our faculty about that, but I want to assure you that we will never get rid of service learning. Having said that, we are under mandate from the CSU system, which in turn is responding to pressure from the legislature, to make sure that our general education curriculum is streamlined so that it can contribute to students graduating on a timely basis. And so, because we have had a lot of things into our general education requirements that exceed the requirements of Title V legislation, we're now having to prune some things. And what the two pressure points in the curriculum are the service learning requirement and the language requirement, which is also unusually high on our campus. So we may have to do some trimming and some reconfiguring, but we're certainly not going to eliminate service learning. I don't think that's in the cards at all.
Yes.
Yeah, me as well. Microphone. Hi, I went a couple days ago to the ethnic studies the seminar workshop, and you mentioned something about losing money or having it tighter and working around. Is that going to stay the same, grow, shrink? Do you have any idea?
What's interesting is that in the CSU system, as a result of some issues that arose at one of our campuses, I believe it was San Francisco State, it prompted a system-wide task force on ethnic studies, chaired by President of CSU Bakersfield. They came back with a report. Then the Chancellor tasked every campus with reviewing the report and assessing how they could incorporate some of the recommendations of the report. So our campus was one of those campuses that didn't have an ethnic studies requirement per se as a separate course or set of courses, because issues of ethnicity and race and equity were kind of diffused throughout our curriculum. So we hadn't had that. But nevertheless, we created a committee, a task force that's been looking at that and has been reflecting on considering how to incorporate those recommendations into our curriculum, our baccalaureate. It still hasn't, that process hasn't been completed yet, so it's not clear how we're going to do it. There seems to be some sense among the faculty that we may need indeed to have a specific course or courses. I think that one of the issues is, and I think that, again, it hasn't made it all the way through the process, and the President lets the faculty do this, so I'm a little hazy on the details, but I seem to recall that there are a number of courses that we're currently teaching that, in fact, play the role of being an ethnic studies class, and so some of them can be designated as ethnic courses and then be made part of a requirement for students. The basic spirit of the recommendation is that every student that gets a baccalaureate from the CSU should have exposure to ethnic studies and issues of ethnicity, and so it's to round out their education regardless of what the major is. So that's the discussion that's going on. I don't think that there's any discussion about funding for ethnic studies. We don't have an ethnic studies program per se in our university, so I don't think in our campus. So that I don't think there's been a discussion about funding that at this point. There is a discussion about funding more broadly, as I mentioned in my remarks, which is that the governor's budget, unfortunately, you hear Governor Brown talk about education, and he tends to highlight the increased funding for K-14, which is quite strong indeed. But it's a very different story for the four-year institutions, both UC and CSU. So as it currently stands, the governor's budget proposal would only increase our budget by about 3.5%, And given the increased costs that we're facing in the CSU system, it's not enough to even cover those increased costs. So if that budget passes, we would not be able to grow at all next year. So it's a problem.
Okay, I think that's going to be it for the questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have remembering African heritage staff, faculty who have moved on, and I'm assuming it's PowerPoint.
Can we have another round of applause for President Ochoa, please? So she's up here because I have bad ADD, so I can't multitask sometimes. The other thing I just wanted to say, you heard a lot of speeches, including me talking way too long. And some part of social justice, civil rights work, like there's a sexy part of it, right? Some of it is this type of stuff. So just to kind of get that a little bit. But the other thing is we also want to take up some time to celebrate some really fantastic people. But before we do that, I wanted to. These are some of the staff faculty that I know that have left not so happy. So I just wanted to, let's just have a moment of silence. Thank you. So now what I'd like to do is I'm going to call up, Carla, I'm going to have some people help me out here. So Carla, if you can come up here. Zarian, you can come up here as well. Now, I don't know who's actually in the room, but we're going to wildly applaud whatever new African heritage staff and faculty we have. So, you can hand these out when they come up. Carla, if you can hand out the little bags, the blue bags down there. And I need one other volunteer. Hi, Marquise. Can you just hand them the bags up there from Asia? Yeah. Okay, so if you are in the room, welcome to CSUMB, Alan McClellan. This certificate is from the NAACP at CSUMB, and you have a welcome packet from the African American Heritage Staff Alliance, and you have a couple of gift bags from admissions and from Asia Guillory, who is one of the most fantastic staff we've ever had and is now a community member. Antonio Robinson. Is Marco here?
Marco.
Gerald Cabral. Stephen Going. Alicia Cameron. Yolanda England. And Zechariah Shawinga. Welcome to CSUMB. I hope that you have a long and productive time here. And now we're going to turn it back over to Regina, who's going to recognize some members of the CSUMB community.
I am extremely impressed by all the new staff members here.
Yeah.
So we have the pleasure of recognizing two members of the college chapter for their extraordinary work. And the first person I'd like to call up is Brehna Watkins. And this is in recognition of 3 years serving with the NAACP at CSUMB, first as education chair and then as president, and in recognition for her leadership in obtaining a $3,000 grant to support the Get Healthy Young People Everywhere Health Fair and Health Forum, including free blood pressure, hepatitis C, and HIV tests, healthy vendors, and activities such as yoga, exercise, arts, and crafts, and over 25 participating organizations. The Monterey County branch proudly presents Brehna Watkins the Juanita Jackson Student Civil Rights Leader Award. It's not easy being president of NAACP. or adult branch. So our next person that I'd like to call up is Marquise Crear. This is in recognition of the extraordinary accomplishments of the NAACP College chapter under the leadership of Marquise Crear in 2016-17 academic year, including the largest active membership in the history of the club and producing high-quality events such as the Black Housing Forum, Police Reform March, fundraiser for Flint, Michigan water crisis, and covering such topics as white privilege, the Black Panther Party, and environmental racism. The Monterey County branch proudly presents Marquise Crear the Juanita Jackson Student Civil Rights Leader Award. Would you like to have a word or two? No pressure.
I'm not going to take all the credit. CSUMB definitely is a supportive community of Black people, but with that said, it does have its issues, real issues, and we had a real team that was dedicated to solving those issues. We didn't accomplish all our goals, but we definitely made things work to the best of our ability, and I look forward to seeing the rest of the accomplishments for this year and further on. And thank you for all those that mentored me and helped me and guided me through that year, because I had a lot of things going on too personally through that year, and as much as I like to think I did for the community, I'd also like to think they did something for me as well. Because I am a first generation student. I grew up in East Oakland, in the heart of East Oakland, from seminary. And yeah, and with that said, I too was suffering from survivor's guilt, because I'm the only one for my family. And the thing that kind of hurts the most when you're the only one coming from your family is that you go into college and you think you're going to solve all the issues and you're going to be able to return back to your community and you're going to be able to fix everything. But In reality, I was gone for 4 or 5 years. When I came back, I probably lost a few cousins every semester, lost friends. My dad, he's suffering to get his life back together. So when you kind of think about it, when you finally get through it, you just realize how much you lost. I don't know if we have any Meek Mill fans, but college was definitely wins and losses. And from my perspective now, I just like to think about what I can do from here on out for everybody around me, for the community, black, white, whatever you are. So yeah, thank you.
Feel special. No, but seriously, my time as president, I had to step down this semester so that I could focus on my grades. But being president was amazing. This was something that I always knew that I could do. Like when I was the education chair and I saw our previous president, Akin Miller, and I saw her being president, I was like, I could do this too, you know? And I've always known that I've had a voice. But NAACP really helped me find it, and it really helped me stand my ground, like how Stevens was saying earlier, how to be bold but not suffer from consequences, you know, how to be bold and how to find a resolution, how to get to the solution, and that was really important for me. Planning Get Hype was also a really big challenge, just because it was only 4 of us, and we all did an amazing job. It was an amazing event, and for those of you who did come, I thank you. For the community vendors that was there too, if any of you are in here, I really thank you, because without y'all, it wouldn't have been nothing, and it was because of y'all, it was everything. And yeah, I really hope that those of you who signed up to help to plan for NAACP going on to the next chapter, I really hope we plan something good and that we can continue here as an organization on this campus, just because I really love this organization and I would really love to be a part of it and keep being a part of it and helping it keep growing and just keep seeing it do so much for this campus, do so much for this community. When I was running for president, one thing I wanted to do was bridge the gap between the community and the campus, and Get Hype was a really big accomplishment when doing that. And yeah, thank you.
I would like to call up Princess Pope, our education chair, who will be presenting this next award.
Good evening, everyone. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor to present this next award. It is the Adult Branch Civil Rights Advocate and Ally Award, and we are awarding it to the one and only Dr. Gerald Shenk.
Oh, yeah.
The Monterey County branch of the NAACP recognized Dr. Gerald Shenk as being a champion for civil rights and standing on the right side of social justice. You have made a difference in the lives of many, including mine. We acknowledge your unselfish commitment to being an excellent educator with a very effective pedagogy for decades, 22 years in fact. Your extended office hours and always going above and beyond the call of duty. We thank you. We celebrate you, Dr. Shenk, for being a CSUMB faculty member since the fall of 1992, only 2 years after it opened in '94, and for being a very important part of the development and success of this institution of higher learning. We appreciate you for keeping it real and addressing the isms in this campus and in the community. Isms meaning sexism, racism, classism, homophobia, long before the discussions were prevalent or popular. Dr. Shenk, you empowered your students to think critically, become well-informed, and use their white privilege for the benefits of the marginalized and justice for all. I will always be grateful for your leadership as my academic advisor, my mentor, and assisting me to be the very first CSUMB Sally Casanova pre-doctoral scholar. You extended your office hours. You helped me to become the Associated Student Multicultural Senator and the Upper Division Academic Senator. Thank you, Dr. Shenk. For those of us who had the opportunity to hear your lectures are astonished by your vast knowledge of Black history and the history of many third world countries. Your passion for equality and inclusion is evident in your teaching and life works. You provided your students with extraordinary opportunity. Yes, you did. I will always remember when you escorted me to ASALA, which stands for Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And this organization was established by Carter G. Woodson, who also founded Black History Month, or maybe Negro History Week or something. Dr. Shenk has studied with the best, and he is one of the best. In fact, he knows more Black history than any professor I've ever encountered. His social and behavioral science classes consisted of relevant guest lectures from folks like Mel Mason and the viewing of rare multicultural films. We never wanted to miss his class. Dr. Shenk, your alliance, your support for the underrepresented is praiseworthy. We thank you again for personally financing the memberships of the initial college chapter members and for being a lifetime member of the NAACP. We honor you for being a risk taker in your political stance against injustices and inequities on and off campus and in the community. Dr. Shenk, indeed, you are a quiet storm and a soul brother. It could have been done any better. And we wish you health and happiness. Congratulations, Dr. Shenk.
I won't say much. Princess, when I came in, I didn't know she was going to introduce me. But when I saw her walk in and I looked at the program, this is one of the students that made the most difference in my life at CSUMB. I met her in her first semester here, and then she disappeared. And I didn't know where she went. And she had gone for very serious surgery, brain surgery. She left. And very shortly after that, she came back while she was recovering from brain surgery. And she was just totally engaged. And she just inspired me every day. And I will say, we got to travel, we got to go to some conferences together. And it was very special. But there were so many other students that were really special here too. This was one of the things about being at CSUMB. And I see a number of them here. Stephen Goins took my course, Benny TA for the course, Asia Guillory.
Asia!
She convinced just about the entire BSU to take my class. We had to change the enrollment cap to let them in. And it was an amazing class because of the contributions that she made. I have to say that because of these students, because of some students that preceded these three, I learned that there was somebody named Mel Mason on campus. They came in one day and they said, "You know this guy?" No. Well, you need to know him. And these students made sure that I knew Mel, and I got to know Mel and Regina. Mel and Regina got me involved in the community and got me to join the Monterey branch of the NAACP. And they have been a continuing inspiration. So I can't separate my time here at CSUMB from that time in the community that I was introduced to by Mel and Regina and others. Coming into the NAACP, I learned that there were people who were just phenomenal, and you're going to be awarding some of them tonight. Everybody knows Ruthie Watts. Everybody knows Akin. And they are just amazing activists, and they make things happen. And so these are the people, some of the people and many others like them, that helped to make me an effective teacher to the extent that I was. Because we always only do it with other people. So, thank you all.
Hey, we're going to call up Stephen Goins for the next two awards.
Actually, Carla's going to give you the award.
Hello everyone, my name is Carla, and I am honored to introduce our first honoree for tonight for the African American and Civil Rights Champion Advocate Award, Mrs. Ruthie Watts. Ruthie grew up and formed in York, South Carolina. York's black children walked 5 miles each day to their secondary school, taunted by white students aboard a passing school bus. Ruthie was a basketball star and the football homecoming queen in high school. Ruthie married William Watts and moved to the Monterey Peninsula in 1965 with their 2 children as a military family. Upon moving to the peninsula, Mrs. Watts immediately became involved in her community, first as a chair director for the Cotillion Ball and Miss Black Teenage California pageant. In 1977, she attended her first NAACP meeting and was elected membership chairperson. Mrs. Watts chaired and organized the NAACP Life Membership Banquet for 30 years and was given the NAACP Life Membership Award for helping Monterey Peninsula Branch become the branch with the most life and golden heritage members in the entire NAACP. Mrs. Watts also organized and continues to chair the Ministers Stephen E. Ross Award Breakfast to establish a stronger working connection between the local churches and the NAACP. Starting in 1986, Mrs. Watts served as president of the Monterey Peninsula Branch NAACP for 4 years. She was also elected to serve as second vice president of the NAACP Western Area Conference and was presented the Unsung Hero Award at the NAACP National Convention in New York. Mrs. Watts has also served in leadership roles in the Salvation Army, the YWCA, Monterey Bay Links Incorporated, the Foundation to Support the Monterey Unified School District, the Coalition of Scholarship Organizations, the Monterey Peninsula College Affirmative Action Board, the Monterey County Overall Economic Development Commission, Central Coast Visiting Nurses Association, the Seaside Art Commission, Leadership Monterey Peninsula, and chaired the Seaside Black History Program for 32 years.
International Grant of the NAACP, Cal State University, chapter as well. Good evening. I accept this honor and honor of Reverend Weldon Smith, who organized the Monterey International Grant along with Seaside and Sherman Smith, Pearl Carey, Matty Blake, Henry Hopkins, Dan Pearl, and Dr. Brehna Watkins, who helped to create the grant along with all of the churches. I was introduced to the Monterey International Grant by Ruthie Smith, who asked me to run for Mrs. NAACP, which I can as first runner. I accept this honor on behalf of Gerald Davis, who invited me to my first NAACP meeting. That same night, I was elected president of the, same night I was elected chair of the life of the NAACP, that position I held for more than 12 years. And after that, I was elected to other positions, which I am still very active in. The Civil Rights Organization since 1977 accepted our civil rights leaders who have lost their lives so that we may have the rights that we have today. And to the college chapter that's tonight, when you graduate from college, make sure you join other NAACP organizations. Because history has a chance to repeat itself. Thank you so much for this.
She had to take something.
So, they're going to figure out some technology. So what's going on is, most of people know who this is. This is Akin Miller. He's been the long-time health chair of Monterey County Branch, and I actually tried to get an award for him somewhere else, a very big award, and I couldn't get him to do it. And I like my feeling. So I'm not reading the script right now, right? This is just from my heart. This is one of the most brilliant activists, and unsung leaders in our community. And I was like, it's important that people know the great work that this man does. So he's not doing quite too well right now. So he's at a nursing home, and so that's why we're beaming him in. But we know with the prayers of the people here in this room, Akin, you're going to be great.
We love you, Akin.
Stand up here and read these prepared remarks about Akin now. Okay. So Akin Miller, James Akin Miller, is a peace and civil rights activist. He has served on the boards of the Monterey Peace and Justice Center as art gallery manager, African American HIV/AIDS Wellness Services as president, and the Monterey County Branch of NAACP as health committee chair. He was also involved for many years with CSUMB's Visual and Public Arts Department. At the age of 14, James was within 50 feet of the podium where Dr. Martin Luther King gave his famous I Have a Dream speech at the 1963 March on Washington. In his late teens, James was inspired by Muhammad Ali's refusal to participate in the war in Vietnam and became a conscientious objector and lifelong pacifist. From 1974 to 1981, Mr. Miller was an assistant professor of architectural design at Howard University and spent his summers traveling the world. On a trip to Nigeria in 1990, he was given the spiritual name Akin Wale, which means the mighty warrior has returned home. Since then, he has visited all of Western Europe, many other African nations, United Arab Emirates, Oman, Argentina, Brazil, and the Dominican Republic. As a guest speaker at the 1992 annual United Way luncheon, Akin came out publicly as a gay African American man living with AIDS. Akin's action directly challenged the stigmatization of gay men and people with HIV/AIDS. His heroic action put a human face on AIDS in Monterey County and helped dispel the notion that AIDS was only a disease of white gay men. Akin then co-founded African American HIV/AIDS Wellness Services in order to fight to ensure that a portion of federal, state, and local resources be directed into the African American community, which was largely being ignored at the time. In 1995, Akin took a life-changing journey to Nepal, where he became a Tibetan Buddhist. Akin maintains a connection with the local Buddhist community through the Manjusri Dharma Center in Pacific Grove and works out his Dharma through his community activism. In the past few months, Akin's health has taken a turn for the worse. He believes he will recover. But in true Buddhist fashion, he has begun the process of releasing his attachments. Just in time for Black History Month, Akin has donated his extensive collection to the city of Seaside and will be donating his many books on the African diaspora and slavery to the CSUMB library. Akin, we're all ears.
Mute off.
I can hear you barely. We're going to work. Give us a moment to work with the technology. You're looking good.
For sitting this up. I've been able to enjoy the entire meeting watching as if I was there. I really appreciate it, baby. Thank you. Dr. Ochoa, Madam President, I'm honored to receive this award, especially as it comes from the students. I've been a lifelong advocate of student education and I'll call it education experience. And I think service learning is one avenue the university has that should be continued. As a student at Berkeley back in the 60s, I got involved with the service, and I've enjoyed community service since. I think it's a valuable asset to students as they go through, matriculate through college, as well as to provide service after school. All I can say is I'm on an interesting journey now, and had I not, I would say 7 weeks ago I was there in the end, and they contacted some of the Buddhist community, and all of a sudden, I came alive. Within hours of notifying my community, people started showing up at my hospital, and there were dozens and dozens of friends who I hadn't seen in maybe 20 years still up. So this cloud of prayer and love does work. I mean, I got the feeling that with all these prayers, it's not time for me to leave. So I really appreciate that, and I want to really express the value of prayer. I totally enjoy what was presented as in his brilliant fashion. He's taken a lot of thought. We had steak tonight, and I totally support what he has said. And I would hope the university would again, you set up an oral history program, but now is the time to collect artifacts and data on the Black community, African American community, which will be a very unique resource. So thank you very much for this award. And my friend Heidi is there to receive it for me. She's a member of our community, of our Buddhist community, and I asked her to receive the award for me. Is you there?
Yes.
he's amazed us all over the last 2 weeks. I just saw him about an hour ago today, and he's sitting up, and you see how cogent he is, and he's enjoying his food now, and he asked for soul food, so he wants grains and all that. But like he said, all our prayers and thinking about him has helped him tremendously. Our teacher, who's in Nepal and India, is talking to him regularly, and all that helps. So please send him your love. And he loves having visitors. He is talking and loves to have good conversations, and we enjoy our visits with him where he is right now, and we hope that he gets much better very soon. So thank you, Akin, for this wonderful.
Very much I can. I'm very amazed at what technology can do these days. So moving on with our program, we're running a little behind, but I do want to wrap this up, and there are a few announcements to be made. There's someone here from Public Water now. Is there some? Yes. Just for a moment, if you'll indulge.
Thank you.
1 minute.
30 seconds. We're conducting a petition campaign to put on the ballot for November. The possibility of buying the county water company out and making it public. 87% of the country gets their water from public agencies. We're an outlier. We're not all. They take profit out of the bill. The prices are up. We have the highest cost of water in the country. So I urge you to get interested in this subject. You can sign a petition from Seaside South to sign it. But November, we're going to get it out in November. And there are a number of other races in November. We can team up and get a real ground game going with other races, whether it's city council or other types of races. So there's a potential to team up and get other things going. And I offer that voices matter, voting matters. I encourage you to get interested in help. Thank you.
But I will just briefly say that on Monday, the 26th of next Monday, the 26th of February, at Friendship Baptist Church, the president or the superintendent of Monterey Peninsula Unified School District, Dr. Diffenbaugh, will come and address the community. They would like to pass another bond, and there are a lot of things going on around LCAP input. So if you're interested in education in MPUSD or addressing the superintendent, please come by. It's at 1440 Broadway, Seaside, at 3 p.m. And then there's someone named Carla Knowles on Black Wednesday. It's Carla Knowles. Did you want to make an announcement?
Sure. So next Wednesday will be CSUMB's first Black Wednesday. Myself and some other fellow CSUMB students felt that it was necessary to create a space once a month for Black students, staff, faculty to just come together. There'll be food, music, games. We just want to just enjoy each other's company. As people were saying earlier, sometimes it's hard on campus to feel home. So we wanted to create that space once a month for everyone to kind of just come together. So if you are going to be around, whether you're student, staff, or faculty, it is 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in main quad, so just come by, show your face.
Thank you. And then there's Paula Carter. Is Paula? She's not here. Well, you've heard already that Super Saturday is coming up this Saturday, and I'm not quite sure the location, but
It's at the University Center.
oh, it's on the screen. Okay, great, wonderful. Please come out. And then there is Dr. Carmen Jones. Vanessa, is there someone here? Dr. Carmen Jones? Okay, I don't know what this is, but I'd like to entertain at this point a motion to adjourn. All right. So, Ben and seconded. All in favor? All right. So please join us for cake and punch. And thanks again to President Ochoa and all of you for showing up.